Hello, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to go around and have you introduce yourself. So, Mike, let's start with you.
Hi, guys. I'm Mike Pena. I'm the senior audio engineer, front of house engineer at a Church Unlimited, large church down in South Texas on the beautiful Gulf of Mexico.
And Tony.
Hi, I'm Tony Price. I'm Chief Revenue Officer for Point Source Audio.
And last but not least, Mac.
Mac Johnson at Point Source Audio, Market Development Management.
Let's get right into it. So, as I mentioned a little bit earlier with Steph, we're going to be talking about hybrid worship audio and how to adapt for that. So, first, let's start off with a question that probably know the answer to, but I'm going to ask anyways. How important is live streaming in modern worship?
Mike, you want to take that?
For us, it's extremely important. And I think after the pandemic, it just became a thing. Other way, they said you couldn't go to church and, the buildings were empty and people still wanted church. People still needed church. So yeah, I mean, sitting at home and with your family in front of your laptop or phone or TV or whatever, and catching a live stream of your church was the way to go. So and since then, it just never went away. It's for us, it's one of our what we call a campus now, because we actually have to put people over that camp, or what we call a campus. We had to pour resources into it, and it's become a thing. It has a large following, and it's global. We have people that have moved away, or a lot of the servicemen and women that are around the country that used to. We have we're located around a couple of bases around here, so we have that are here for a while and they leave and they continue on. So it's been a huge thing. We get viewers from all over.
Tony and Mac, do you have anything?
Yeah, I would just say too. I mean, I've seen it, evolve from a sort of a shut-in ministry to obviously the pandemic. There was some people, some point in time, whether you couldn't go to church at all, and then it just evolved into like Mike said, a thing where it is, the way that people worship, and it does offer a lot of advantages if it's good audio and good video. Because you can, there's people that are work from home people now. So it's sort of that way in the church as well, where they can be, as Mike said, around the table and, on a Sunday morning, maybe they can't make it in, or maybe they're vacationing on the weekend, or they moved away for a while, or that sort of thing. So there's lots of opportunities. And then there's outreach beyond that. So I know of a church here in Southern California that does broadcast, and people in Japan are part of the service via that.
Mac, do you have anything you want to add?
No, nothing to add there.
Yep. So how has streaming progressed since the pandemic started until now?
I would just say, and we talked about this the other day, Mike and I talked about it. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
No, yeah, it's, it turned into, where you had a couple of cameras and you were just kind of filming, shooting your service and whatever was happening in the room. We were just kind of putting out there live on a stream, and we were sending a stereo bus of some sort to out, and that was kind of it. But it's turned into, it's a thing. We are using creative camera shots. We're doing a lot of pre-recorded material with live material and going back and forth between the two. We have hosts that are speaking directly to the people that are watching on the stream, so that they're in their setting, whereas what we're doing live in the room may not be the same. The worship is live, and we take into that account as we're lighting and our LED walls and screens and graphics and all those things, where it's become now also it's got its own separate mixing room and console, and so it's become almost in competition, I'd say, with some of the award shows, like you would say, like a Grammys or a Emmys kind of thing. The Billboard awards, those things. It's taken on a whole other thing. So where it started, where even some smaller churches that I went to go help out, had an iPhone turned in landscape mode, and we're just kind of shooting with their iPhone. It's become they're all investing in cameras and how do we get our audio up, and should we mix in on a console, or it's just this whole other world now.
I would say too that people, have become accustomed to quality streaming, and everything they watch, everybody's watching, streaming something now. So if the church doesn't have quality, it's not going to keep people engaged, and then people are going to fall away. So it's super important that the quality is there, and everybody knows that quality in worship is important in the sanctuary itself, but also online.
Yeah, so I could add to the fact that the integrators and specifiers and designer, that whole industry has recognized the fact that this has changed since the pandemic, and that these is more important to have broadcast capabilities as well as the live in-person capabilities. And so you'll see that in the designs of churches with the media platforms like the sound and lighting and video playback as well.
Yeah, every decision that we make in that area, it always has that question, and it's always like, okay, how does this translate to the online stream? How is this going to affect the person in the home? And we have to kind of shift and move, and where we think, oh, this is going to be great, and it's like, oh wait, but for the live stream, so we have to be flexible there, because it's important. Like I said, for us, it's just another campus, and we look at it, we treat it well. That's how we approach it. So,
what are some of the obstacles that you've encountered when you're delivering a quality audio stream in houses of worship?
Yeah. For us, the obstacles was we wanted to recreate as much as we could the experience in the room. We're a high production church, put lots of value on that, and we felt like the online stream, which while it was okay, to take it to this other level, it's like this doesn't feel like it's us, or it doesn't feel like it's the room. So the obstacles for us were, how can we we had to start thinking broadcast minded and not just like live in person. We had to take on that broadcast mindset of audio. How is that going to translate over onto a laptop speaker? How, again, camera shots, how the lighting, how is this going to look on one's, TV or their phone, versus where we used to only worry about screens that were in the room. So the obstacle for us was upgrading, and I guess obstacle, I don't know. It was just that we needed to think broadcast at the same time as we were, wanting to do high quality stuff in the room. So for us, cameras, audio, how are we going to stream in the back? How are we going to mix this? We can't just send a stereo bus out through some little converter out into the thing. We have to have a mix and an engineer. And so finding those qualified people that can mix broadcast style audio and creating an entire other audio world, that was the biggest thing. Finding those people, and our directors and our producers and things had to start thinking, camera shots that were engaging. And, like when you watch a performance on the Grammys, they're going through camera shots, left, right, singer, guitar player, what's happening in the background, and all these quick, and so we had to invest a little bit in that and learn that and find people that had, which we had the people there. It's that we just had to say, okay, we're going to go this way now. And so it changed how we did things. And, but that was mainly it, finding that balance and stepping up into a broadcast mindset that we didn't have at that level.
And we were talking the other day, Mike, about some of the things that happened, with body worn microphones, which is what obviously Point Source Audio makes, and some of the challenges with people wanting to fidget with microphones, or the beard scratching on the microphone itself, and those kinds of things. And of course, the microphone is the conduit to the audio system for the most important part of worship, which is the message. So what are you doing to mitigate some of those issues?
And how do you mitigate those issues?
Yeah. So for us, because we were so, it was a hybrid kind of thing. We did some pre-recorded material where hosts were speaking directly to the online audience. And then we would go live to worship. And then after worship, we would go back to a pre-recorded sort of a welcome and a little bit of a, intro to the sermon that was coming up. While in the room, we had live campus pastors, greeting and that kind of a thing. And when we actually went live to the sermon, then everybody was live. So, and then at the end, we went back to the hybrid, kind of like, hey, thanks for being here. See you next week. We're looking forward to, here's what's happening, and some messages and some announcements online was pre-recorded while we were doing a different kind of thing in the room. So that video and live thing, when we took it to another level, we wanted to capture in the room like we do in the room. So jib shots and these flying camera things and roaming cameras on stage and stuff, we couldn't do because, you had to have a boom mic and a stand sitting in a certain area. Shots, they were in the way. We didn't like it in the shot. We didn't want it to be seen. We were even as picky as we didn't want a lapel to be seen. So we tried some hiding and under the shirt, under the clothing thing, but it was, we didn't get the audio we wanted. And so that's when I came across these Embrace microphones that was like, hey, I think we need to try this. So taking into account all those things, that just made it feel, we could have done a handheld and we tried it, but we just wanted them to be a little freer with their hands and their movements. And, boom mics caused issues with phasing. We had two people talking and we would have to have two of them. And if they turn away, we would lose them. And it was a real challenge getting that solid audio the whole time. So we switched to these cool little earpiece Embrace mics, and you can't hardly see them. They sound amazing. And all the post-production stuff that I would have to do before, where I had to worry about plosives from lapels or headsets, even from boom mics, a lot of the ambient noise.
So, Mike, we lost you. I was just going to kind of elaborate on the, the over-the-ear miking technique does track well when somebody moves their head to the. I'm wearing one now, kind of a hybrid of it. So if I move my head or look up and down, you can see that the sound stays constant. And also with regard to the camera shot, the video, it's practically invisible, as he says. So with those intimate close-ups on the pastor, you have the ability to get rid of the sight line of the mic.
Sorry, we're still trying to fix Mike's audio issues right now. They're going to fix that offline and then we'll come back.
Right on. So yeah, and Mike was speaking to that idea of the camera shot being important, and that intimacy of wearing a microphone over the ear does conceal it quite well. The devices are tiny, and again, as I was mentioning, is if you move left to right, up and down, the position of the relationship between the mic position and the sound source, the mouth, stays constant and gives Mike a good chance in post-production to not have to do as many of the mixing and editing bits that he would have to do normally.
I think too, it's what I've heard from a lot of people is,
right.
And for myself too, it solves that sort of want to touch the microphone all the time because you don't even know it's there. Once it's on, it's just there, and you forget about it. With other types of microphones, you're always messing with them.
I'm sorry. We would get bad mic. We would sometimes get bad mic placement. We try to be consistent with the headset, but our pastor likes to sit in one of the services, and anytime that happens, bets are off. While he's in the seat and he's standing, his hands are up, and he would come up and it would be pointing at his nose or down at his chin. He would be rubbing on his beard, and he just didn't shave that day morning. And you hear it, and it's annoying, and it's like, hey, is that static? What's happening? And I got to reel back and tell him, no, it's his beard. It moved. It's pointing at his chin, whatever. And so all that was gone. We had to worry about that. And he would sense it being off, and he'd reach up and grab his ear and grab it and move, or he might sometimes hear it himself and go, is that me? Is that so super distracting in the middle of the sermon, and he would move it around, and then not always knowing where he moved it to, it made it worse sometimes. So
right.
It was like, don't touch it, Yeah. So that was huge. And he always wanted to sit in our biggest service, which typically is the one where, they always want to use for the recast. And sometimes we would pick another service because, sorry, man, the audio it didn't work. It's got, it sounded bad, or we had static, it was rubbing on your face, whatever. So all those things are gone. And it just made, it's just more seamless, more consistent audio for everyone.
That's great. Well, one thing we just sent Mike, and this is kind of a rush thing, Mike, and I kind of caught what you said earlier. We sent Mike a microphone. It's a dual capsule microphone, dual pattern microphone that's patented. Mike, you said you used it this Sunday. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I love it. That's just I was sitting there thinking, where's this been? Like, why didn't someone else do this a long time ago? I love the sound of the cardioid, and the problem we always had with cardioids we tried in the past were shirt noise and moving around. He's very energetic, moves around, does a lot of things. So we would get shirt noise and we get whooshing and all these different things from the cardioid. But when he was still, it sounded great. We had to go to the Omni, and the Omni presents its challenges of ambience and feedback issues and things like that. So having the two and being able to blend them was awesome. And in the past, when we've had a problem with a mic pack or something like that, where we had to run out of handheld in the middle of service, I've got a backup. It's right there. I just fully engage that one, pull the other one out, and we were good to go. Seamless.
So what are some ways that you can ensure quality audio from the pastor and other speakers? Mac, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So mic placement in this kind of situation, and also the comfort. One thing that to kind of note is that if a pastor or presenter is not comfortable with the microphone placement, it doesn't really matter what it sounds like. It's not going to be consistently placed. They're gonna be fidgeting with it and playing with it. So if you get a comfortable position on the speaker or presenter that they like, then you're a knob or two away of making it sound decent. Now, there are some good arguments to say that this place is better and that place is better. But overall, if you have a successful, comfortable presenter with a microphone placement, that the audio engineer can typically get a good sound of it. Now, there's some physical things to consider gain before feedback, meaning the interaction between a microphone and a speaker. That doesn't come into play as often, or shouldn't come into play at all on their live broadcasts. But when you're considering miking for a live and a broadcast, you do need to consider microphone placement. And it's just, there are many ways to do it, and most of them are good and very few bad ones, but you have to find one the pastor is comfortable with and that satisfies the technical needs or aesthetic needs, like if the mic has to be hidden or not.
So is it more of like a personal preference? There's no like one way to do it?
That's the beauty of it, is there's many ways to do it, but the personal preferences come into play, because I would be one that would say, let's not have the microphone visible. So if I can hide the microphone, that'd be awesome. And if we can also put the microphone in a location where no one's going to touch it, blow into it, or say something like, is this on? Or, or blow into it or something like that, that'd be better. Boom microphones are out, on the big giant booms. As far as I'm concerned, they're cumbersome, they're big. Again, Mike mentioned the challenges of having those big studio booms, rolling around in the camera shots, and also, just straight up mic stands and stuff like that all over the place in multiple locations, and get rid of those is what I would say.
Tony, do you have anything
Yeah,
to add?
I just say that, it's also minimizing what talent, we'll call talent, can do with microphones, again, with fidgeting or with just improper microphone usage. So it's part of it is hopefully training staff, if they're using handheld microphones, for example, that they need how to use the microphone is super important. But, if you can minimize those sorts of obstacles by, placing a microphone in a place that stays consistent to the sound source and they don't know it's there, that's a great thing to have.
So in what ways are you able to ensure quality audio for in-person and online?
Well, I can speak to that just a little bit. I know Mike can add in here as well, but when you're doing a dual presentation, live broadcast and in the room, you have to look at this from these two unique experiences. It's not common to just take a regular room in-person presentation and then be able to broadcast it with any great success. You have to consider both. That's where the success is, when you have teams that are dedicated to the broadcast and teams dedicated to the in-person that are in collaboration to make both those events successful. That's how any presentations that you see or on television that are live, they're all choreographed for that experience for the in-room, as well as this goes all the way to a football game, right? Camera angles and all that stuff, all the way across. So yeah, the collaboration between those two teams is what would make it successful.
Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, our team, like I used it at front of house, so I was in the room live, but I didn't get to hear the playback of the stream, which I need to go back and do today. But talking to the engineer that did the stream over the weekend, he loved the same thing, having the two and blending them. I think he said he leaned a little more towards the cardioid, which in the room and with isolation and things for a live stream, I can see where that would work. But he said this is a game changer. And same thing, he was like, why? Well, how come we don't have these? Why haven't we had these before? So, there's just so many things that happen with between the two that we have to communicate back and forth about. Hey, how's this sounding there? And what's going on back here or up front? And did you hear that? This is happening in the house. Are you getting that in the stream? And yeah, this gives us each two microphones to get to make sure we have something good that's happening at all times. So yeah, but that's huge to make it really work in the room and make it work live. We had a lot of people that show up and say, well, we saw you online and it looked really great, or we loved this, or we loved that, and we decided to visit. And we have 6 campuses, so around the area. So we get visitors from all over, and a lot of times it's from, they just saw it online first. So that's super important.
So last question, and then I think we'll have time for one audience question. What are some workarounds for traditional lavalier mic shortcomings?
Wow. Good question.
Don't use them, is what I say.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say I didn't want to hate on lavaliers, but I wanted to say we've tried them in the past, and they didn't work. I couldn't, we just couldn't dial them in, and it was just, so the workaround for us was, as much as we also didn't want the headset, it was like, man, we got to go this route because the lob is just not working. And I think it might be a little different in all situations, all churches, because I know there are churches out there that are making them work. And I hear them, but I always think to myself, man, I wonder how much better it would be if you switched to something else.
That's a good point, Mike. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to say too that it's a tool, and you got to look at any location or any brand or any type of microphone, pickup pattern, frequency response, sensitivity. These are all tools. That's why there's so many different ones out there, and that's why there's so many great choices to have when you go to pick up one of these and place it somewhere. The lavalier, one of the challenges I thought that should be mitigated is that it's really designed to go on a coat on the lapel, and as you can watch any newscast or any broadcast anywhere, that women typically don't have those, and so the microphones are sticking out of the top of blouses. It's an eyesore. They're hard to put in and get in place quickly, things like that. So having alternative locations like over the ear and or boom microphones around the face is a better alternative, and often adds a better sound quality, because the main thing is because the location of the sound source, the mouth, stays constant if a microphone is in and around the head, as opposed to if it's here, if I look up or down or to the left and right.
So let's take this audience question. How much redundancy do you build into your sanctuary equipment for streaming?
We do have just a redundant source. We do that a lot. We actually do it in many places, but for live streaming, we just have 2 of everything, basically, is what it is. And should it go down or something happens, we can automatically switch to the other server and takes it from there. It's happened a few times. Most of the time it's seamless. There might be one small little glitch, and you would just take that as, this it's my internet or whatever, not knowing that back at the main room that one went down or one stopped for whatever reason. And we had a computer that decided to do an update. Somebody hadn't checked and turned the automatic updates off, and it decided to do it in the middle of a service, and the other one just took over immediately. So it was a small glitch, and then we went on. But redundancy is huge. We're very big on, if this could go down and cause, you know, major problems, then we have to have, what do? We have to back this up. Something has to take over. We've got to have a redundant solution for it. So yeah, which tucks into those mics too, because like one of those mics failing, you know, that speaks to those dual element. The headset, it's great.
We're running out of time,
they go down. It is what it is.
We're running out of time, but I do want to get this one last audience question in. What type of microphones are you using to capture choir voices and music?
I have tried several different ones. Choirs, we've tried shotguns, and they were great, but you do tend to pick up one or two voices a little louder than the other. We've tried hanging them directional, and that worked okay. I have found I love the 414 style microphone, the AKG 414. I'm models right now, which is their version of the 414, and they're great. Anytime we don't have a big choir. We do it occasionally, special occasions, Easter, Christmas, those kinds of things. Or we've done some recordings where we wanted some choir stuff, and those have worked really well. Just a good large diaphragm condenser microphone.
Mike, I can speak to that as well.
The booms didn't work too good for us.
So miking choirs is something that I've had a significant amount of experience with regard to, you know, symphony shows that would have choirs, as well as the in the religious industries. But yeah, 3 or 4 pairs of condenser microphones in an XY or a bloom line across the tenors, sopranos, altos, and basses offered me a lot of control over those 3 sections to kind of blend them, because they don't often are scaled, meaning there should be twice as many basses in a choir than there are sopranos, because they typically don't put out as much level or usable level for a microphone. So yeah, mics in the XY pattern or the bloom line in front of those sections often captured the entire choir. That would be on boom stands from the ground up about maybe a third, 2/3 the way up the choir risers, pointing kind of straight towards the middle of the choir.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Better for me.
We are out of time. Mike, if people want to learn more about you or find you, where can they find that information?
I'm not a big social. I mean, I have social media, but I'm not a big guy. But I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and if you ask me what those handles are, it's okay. My Instagram, I believe, is the Instagram is Sir Mike Pena, all one word.
There you go.
I do know that because I just got a notification here.
Perfect. Tony, what about you?
You can reach me at tprice@point-sourceaudio.com.
And Mac?
And you can find me at on the website there at Point Source Audio. There's a picture of me, and my email address is there. But I also, if I may, say thank you to you folks for putting this on, and really, really appreciate the fact that you're offering the CTS credits. I've had great success in presenting to those groups of people and getting the certificates out to them. So I really appreciate your efforts for those the folks at Advixa.
Thank you. We pride ourselves on the amount of CTS credits we offer every year, because we think it's just good for the industry. And thanks so much to Point Source Audio for sponsoring this session. We're going to roll a little video from them, and then Steph and I will be right back.